Hello and welcome to Everywoman. I'm Shuli Ghosh. This week, husband hunting in Singapore. The mail-order brides desperate for a new life. Love Thy Neighbour, the new comedy that's proving a hit. And Iranian women picking up a storm on the football pitch. But first, it's caused outrage in Israel and offended female politicians who've condemned it as pornographic. It was supposed to improve the country's image, but it's a PR stunt that's caused a problem. Ex-Israeli soldiers, who also happen to be very beautiful women, are shown on the cover of a popular men's magazine, wearing nothing but bikinis. The magazine, Maxim, says they're drop-dead gorgeous and can take apart an Uzi in seconds. Well, the Israeli consulate in New York came up with the idea after research suggested that Israel meant little to men aged 18 to 38. Well, this is an example of some of the pictures that have caused the controversy. And I think you'll agree that young American men are probably taking rather more notice of Israel right now. But is this the right way to go about it? We did ask the Israeli consulate to come on the programme to talk about the campaign, but they declined our invitation. Instead, to discuss the issues raised by the photographs is Anne Friedman, contributor to the feminist blog feministing.com. And thanks very much for joining us. We see images like this all the time to sell everything. So what's the problem with using these images to sell Israel?
I mean, it's very different when you have a country's government using these images and saying that, you know, this is not only a reason to come visit, but, you know, this is the best their country has to offer, or this is the image they want to project. I think it's really the government sponsorship that's troubling.
But the Israeli consulate said, to be fair, the target audience were young men aged 18 to 38, and no one can argue that this isn't targeted at them.
Sure. I mean, it may be very effective among that set of the population here, but that doesn't mean it's not offensive to women both in the U.S. and in Israel. And I think that I and many women like me see these images and find them honestly quite appalling. And have a hard time understanding why this is the image that the Israeli government has chosen. You know, they could have portrayed beautiful women in any number of settings, you know, vacationing there or seeing tourist sites, or, and instead, you know, they're depicted as, you know, male fantasies, which is not going to appeal to women in the U.S., that's for sure.
Well, there's been some very strong reactions from inside Israel. One female member of the Knesset saying that they're pornographic. Are they pornographic?
I mean, I'm not sure I would use that word. I mean, I think that it's not necessarily wrong to portray women in bikinis, but they're portrayed in this sort of like very obvious male fantasy setting. It's not a woman in a bikini at the beach, say, or in any sort of natural setting where a woman really would be wearing clothing like that. You know, they're slathered up in Vaseline and placed on the ledges of buildings and, you know, are standing in 4-inch heels. And these are not things that depict normal life for Israeli women, which is something the consulate has tried to claim, that these images are of normal life.
And these women, of course, are all being portrayed as former members of the Israeli Defense Forces. Is it worse that they're ex-soldiers?
I think that there is something about, you know, a culture of conflict and objectification of women that go hand in hand. And it's interesting that one of the stated objectives of the Israeli consulate was to dispel the notion that Israel is a culture of conflict, is a military macho culture. And in my mind, these images do nothing but reinforce that. I mean, here we have women who have, you know, just finished their compulsory military service, who are posing and talking about the military in a sort of very male fantasy way. And it does absolutely nothing but perpetuate this idea of conflict and objectification and machismo.
But you're not arguing that these women have been exploited, because obviously they have chosen freely to pose in this way.
Oh, sure. I'm not arguing that they're being exploited, but I think it does do Israeli women a disservice to say, you know, this is what women are like in our country, even if that's not, you know, what's stated in this campaign. That's certainly what's implied.
Do you think there would be the same objections if the campaign had shown gorgeous young men stripped down to their underwear?
I mean, it's not as common to see men objectified this way in our culture. And, you know, it would probably seem more transgressive to see men that way. I'm not saying that I would support it. I think it's sort of you know, a bad idea for marketing, you know, for a government to back that. But I think the response would have been very different. You know, as you said, this is sort of a tried and true advertising technique, and it's really disappointing to see, you know, a government agency stooping that low.
OK, Anne, thank you very much for your thoughts there. Anne Friedman speaking to us from Washington. And we move smoothly on from selling sex to buying brides. Thousands of women from Vietnam trying to escape their poverty are offering themselves as mail-order brides. And in Singapore, they're in great demand. Matchmaking agents fly in the prospective brides on tourist visas, promising to find them husbands within 2 weeks. Now, it may seem exploitative and degrading, but for many Vietnamese women, it's a chance for a new life. Ju Lin Ong reports now on 2 young women looking not for a man of their dreams, but for a man of means.
Before I boarded the plane, I felt very happy because it's always been my dream to marry a foreign spouse.
Ah Cho and her friend Ah Chen have just arrived from Ho Chi Minh City. Thanks to professional matchmaker Jensen Ong, they're here in search of good husbands and a better life.
It's my idea to find a husband from Singapore. My parents first disapproved, but they had to agree with me in the end.
Ah Cho is already shortlisted by one of the groom. Ah Chen is waiting. You can see for yourself, they are pretty, sweet, and they have nice figure.
More importantly, they're virgins.
If those city girl, loose girl, probably they work in the karaoke, work as a masseuse or work as a prostitute. So this type of girl, when they marry, this type of marriage won't last long.
For the 2 18-year-olds who have never left Vietnam, this trip is hugely daunting. But it's also an opportunity of a lifetime.
I don't want to get married to the men in my village because the married couples always have money problems. And the men always get drunk and mistreat their wives.
你要结婚老公几岁？40岁可以吗？40岁，可以啊。60岁可以吗？60岁，60岁要死掉可以？神经病还没有神经病啊！
The next morning, it's down to business with Jensen and his wife Winnie. Here on a 2-week tourist visas, time is short. It isn't long before the first client shows up.
We are only agency in Singapore doing 100% virgin.
Vietnamese lah.
A lot of agency they provide you is Vietnam, the doctor certified is a virgin. These are all fake certificate.
Oh, fake.
So what we provide is Singapore doctor certified.
Not virgin now.
No virgin, refund you back the money.
The meeting lasts for over an hour but ends with no takers.
Not costly.
I know some people say that we are selling ourselves when we make ourselves available to marry foreign husbands. But I disagree. Maybe in other places these things do happen, but in my case, because I know the professional matchmakers are good people, they will take care of me.
Not long after, the man who expressed an interest in Ah Cho shows up with his family in tow.
帮 agent 做呢，之后呢，以后你困一礼拜，次要送无送，送到厝。帮 agent 来做，伊人是无认真的查某，人饲查某是18岁啊，1万块买转啊，谈800真偏，歹听讲买啦。因为这是讲你行累较紧，免拍拖。阿周立在36岁 ，OK？ 有没有喜欢？有喜欢？
喜欢哪一点？
开小支票，也开小较成人啦。
In just an hour, Ah Cho has found a new husband.
When the matchmaker said someone was interested in me, I was very nervous. But when I met him just now, I felt a closeness. I didn't feel that he's a stranger.
The next day, it's a frantic rush to the doctors for a full medical checkup. Besides testing for VD and AIDS, Ah Cho also needs to prove that she's a virgin.
I feel a little insulted having to go to the doctor to be certified as a virgin. But I guess the guy has a right to know. I also want to prove to my husband that I'm a virgin, so I guess I don't mind.
The wait is stressful for all. Her friend, meanwhile, has her own concerns.
I'm very happy for Acho because her fate seems settled. As for me, I'm still waiting my turn.
Finally, news that will make or break Acho's marriage.
This is to certify that the above name is a virgin Ah Chao. 他这边是讲你还有处女，没有跟男孩子睡觉，跟男孩子睡觉，男仔不要，男孩子不要，懂不懂？啊。
1 week later, Acho is going to her husband and in-laws' home. But Archon won't be seeing her off. Her visa ran out and she's had to return to Vietnam.
I worry about communicating with my husband, about how we're going to interact since we don't speak the same language.
Happy this our marriage depend on couple. We can't guarantee anything. We can give a very good bride to her husband. Then the husband don't love her. We can't do anything.
I worry about living with my in-laws because I know the Singaporean lifestyle is very different from what I'm used to. I have to be a housewife, but I'm not sure what is expected of me.
Today they pay me full payment because I provide this virgin bride, which I don't allow return. I told him that today if you feel that your bride is you cannot accept her, whatever, you want to send her back to Vietnam yourself.
I think it's my fate to marry outside my country because my family isn't rich enough to send me overseas. This is my fate. Since I'm going to marry him, I will try to tolerate whatever happens to me.
When we come back, the brand new TV comedy about a Muslim family living in small-town Canada. It's a huge hit, and we'll see why after the break.